Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday, and welcome back to another Planetarium live stream. I'm your Planetarium specialist, Patrick Hess, and thanks for joining us on this lovely Monday evening. And thank you to our supporting sponsor, MRI Global, for keeping these live streams going and supporting all of the programs at Union Station. Thank you all for watching today, and I'm glad you're joining us because we've got a good stream planned for you. Many of you are tuning in for our Spring Star Tour, which will be coming soon. We're going to look at all the deep sky objects, constellations, and other important things that you will be able to see in our night skies over the next few months. We'll go over some news updates that have been popping up over the past week in the world of astronomy. And then the big thing is that we're going to be announcing some updates to our live stream schedule. So if you're a long-time watcher, thanks for sticking with us for so long. And in the next few minutes, you'll find out what our plans are for the future of our live streams. And if you're a first-time watcher, don't worry. We have dozens and dozens of hours of content, and if you've missed any of our past streams, you can find us on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/kcplanetarium, and you can find all of our past streams, all 65 of them, I believe. This is our 66 of them. This is our 67th live stream. We've covered so many topics and amazing deep dives into the world of astronomy. So if you're tuning in for the first time, I'd encourage you to check any of those out because this is coming up on 1 year of doing these live streams, and we have done quite a few of them. Don't forget, this is a live stream, so if you're watching and would like to say hello, then be sure to put that in the comments below. If you have any questions, feel free to throw those in there as well. And as always, if you have a shout out or want to let us know where you're watching from, then let us know as well. It's always fun to see where everybody's tuning in from. Randy's already saying sup. Thanks for tuning in, Randy. Hope you enjoy today's stream. So as people start joining the stream, we are going to begin by going over some news updates over the past week. So let's start with that. And then as soon as we go through the news, we will talk about our future plans for the live stream. And then after that, we'll go into our Star Tour. So I wanted to start with kind of a fun thing that anybody who's plugged into social media may have known, but today is World Water Day, kind of a fun international holiday where a lot of different organizations are talking about the important role that water plays in our world. Of course, water is very lovely. We like water here on Earth. It helps us out quite a bit, and NASA was getting in on posting things about that. You can see the Hubble Space Telescope posted a couple interesting links on their Twitter rather, about water found throughout our solar system. The Hubble imaging water plumes on Jupiter's moon Europa. By the way, if you want to learn more about Jupiter, we covered it in one of our live streams. That was on June 29th. Last year. And if you've just tuned in, be sure to head over to youtube.com/kcplanetarium. We can find recordings of all of our past live streams. But there is evidence of water on Mars, so that link there will take you there as well. And water vapor mapped onto exoplanets. We actually did a whole live stream about exoplanets last month. That was on February 8th of this year. So if you want to learn more about worlds beyond our sun, that was a fun stream there. In fact, NASA's exoplanet Twitter handle, I would love to work for NASA's social media because they just have the coolest Twitter accounts. Here's a NASA account all about exoplanets. This one talks about habitable zones around planets, and our exoplanet stream, we talk about that as well. So talking about that Goldilocks zone, as scientists like to call it, the area in a solar system that's just far enough away but not too close for water to potentially exist in a liquid form. That is one area where we may look for signs of life in the future if we ever are able to visit exoplanets. So happy World Water Day, everybody. Take a drink of water. I'll do it on stream. And although I'm going to also take a sip of coffee too. So let's see some updates from Perseverance. If you didn't know, by the way, NASA just landed a rover on Mars named Perseverance. It's a pickup truck-sized robot that has been on Mars for about a month now. In fact, it just celebrated its month anniversary. It landed on February 18th of this year. A couple of fun, exciting updates there. Let's bring this over here. So again, if you've just tuned in, we are covering some space news updates, after which we will cover exciting updates about our live streams. So be sure to stick around and stay tuned, folks. So, the NASA has a website all about Mars and this mission. It's Mars 2020, as it was originally called, and the rover's name is Perseverance. But they post news updates here. Here's a fun one that I want us to experience together because I haven't listened to this yet, actually. But one of the cool thing about Perseverance is that it was the first rover that actually brought a microphone on board, and so we should, if I turn the background music off and turn desktop sound on, then I think, hopefully, we will be able to hear the sounds of Perseverance driving. Let me see. Yep, it looks like that should be coming through. Let me turn the volume up there. I'm just hearing sort of a buzzing so far. So it's a 16-minute long recording. Let's see if we could... Oh. You guys hearing that? Wow, that's so weird. You can hear these metallic sounds clanking around. That's incredible. So that's the sound of a robot driving around on Mars. Isn't that crazy? So, you know, I think that NASA probably has some scientific plans for using these microphones, but it's also just cool to kind of get a new dimensional experience with these missions to other planets. That's just fascinating. I could listen to that all day, honestly. Maybe we'll just leave that on in the background. No, it's kind of annoying, actually, after a little while. So anyway, the sounds of a robot driving around on Mars. Let's bring our background music back in. Let's see. Another exciting news update about the Perseverance mission is that it is getting ready to deploy its helicopter, which is named Ingenuity. So here's a photograph of the dust cover having just popped off that was protecting the Ingenuity helicopter. And then we can see it right there. The next thing it'll do is it's going to rotate down so it can be ready to be fully deployed, and it'll actually drop down onto the surface of Mars, and then Perseverance will rove away, allowing it to take its first flight on another planet. So that will be pretty incredible. All right. Let me check the comment section. We have a couple of our longtime watchers tuning in. Thanks so much for joining us. Chris saying hello from downtown Kansas City, one of our longtime watchers. Thanks for tuning in again. Tammy, another longtime watcher, says hello from Iowa. And Tammy says, thank you, Patrick, for still doing these. We always learn something new every week and have enjoyed watching. We were hoping to get to KC this summer and visit the planetarium. That'd be so amazing, Tammy. It'd be so great to visit, to meet you in person and to have you come to the planetarium. And it'd be great to have you experience the rest of Union Station, because there's a lot of other cool things going on around that part of Kansas City. But of course, we'd love to host you in the planetarium. Garney's tuning in, saying good evening. Good evening, Garney. Thanks for watching. Eric's watching from West Plains, Missouri. Thanks for tuning in, Eric. And Mark says, keep up the great work. Thank you, Mark. I will, as long as you keep on watching and being awesome, too. All right, a couple other news updates I want to go over quickly. The NASA Artemis mission just had a test. They were testing out its engines. You can't see it, of course. There we go. So this was an engine test of the engines that are part of the Space Launch System, which is NASA's new rocket platform that they're planning on taking back to the moon. That's the Artemis mission that will be taking astronauts back to the moon by 2024 is their goal. And then this is just an engine test, so you can see it's just on a platform. It's not part of the main rocket stack, so to speak. But the plan is later this year they're going to be hooking these engines up to the Space Launch System, the SLS, and also attaching the Orion capsule, which is the capsule that will take astronauts back to the moon. They'll be putting them together for the first time and hopefully doing an uncrewed launch later this year. So stay tuned for that. We don't have a specific date on that yet, but that should be coming soon. All right, so let's see. What are some other news updates I wanted to tell you about? Let's skip a couple of these. Let's see. Oh, we can hear Phoebe in the background, wants to be part of the stream. We'll bring her on once we start our star tour, I think. Okay, here's a cool space update that is kind of a news piece that has been developing for quite a while. So there is an interstellar object named Aumwawa, which is probably not how it's pronounced, But there it is. And we've been learning a lot about it over the year or so that we've been tracking it. We know that this object came from another solar system. It's the first object like that we've found. And then recent studies have shown that it likely was actually part of a Pluto-like planet. So this object we found is actually made up of mostly frozen nitrogen, which we know Pluto is covered in that stuff. If you want to learn more about Pluto, by the way, our first live stream this year on January 4th, we did a deep dive into that last non-planet of our solar system. That's right, Pluto's not a planet. You'll have to watch that stream if you want to debate me on that. But anyway, this interstellar object could have come from a Pluto-like planet that was in a different solar system that broke up for some reason. So pretty cool. Just continuing to learn about these other objects that we're starting to see pop up in our solar system. Objects from far away. Most of the meteors and things we find in our solar system are from our solar system, so it's cool that this object we know is from a different solar system entirely, a different star system, I should say. If we're being pedantic, solar system refers to our sun, since our sun's scientific name is Sol. So there's a fun fact for you today. Ooh, the last update I wanted to give is a pretty cool little news update. The International Astronomical Union, who we know are the folks that did demote Pluto back in 2006, they just made an announcement that they have recognized, 86 new star names based on Australian Aboriginal names, as well as some Chinese, Coptic, Hindu, and Mayan, Polynesian, South African, and other Aboriginal cultures. So this is significant because up until 2016, actually, the International Astronomical Union did not recognize any star names. Stars were only designated by their brightness relative to the constellation that they're found in. So all the star names that you're familiar with, like Polaris or Sirius or Betelgeuse, those were not official until 2016. In 2016, the IAU got together and they designated 313 star names based on some common Arabic, Roman, and Greek names. But, you know, a lot of people wonder, like, who gets to name the stars? There are, you know, questionable services where you could name stars after yourself, and those catalogs don't cross over and are not officially recognized. But it's kind of crazy that by this point there are actually, if I'm doing the math right here, less than 400 official star names. Actually, yeah, 399 star names that are officially recognized, and all the rest of them are just sort of boring scientific notation names. So that's cool, and it's great that the IAU chose Aboriginal names for these stars to recognize that, you know, cultures around the world look up at the stars and they have their own stories about them. And we're so used to our Western astronomy culture, but there are a lot of other cultures, a lot of other sky cultures, we call them, which, by the way, I wanted to shout out. We've done a lot of live streams about other sky cultures. Of course, we talk about Western mythology during our star tours, but we actually did a whole live stream about the history of Western mythology. That was on February 15th. But we've done other live streams. We talked about the sky cultures of Africa and Asia last year on June 15th. We talked about the sky cultures of the Native Americas in June 22nd. I'm just seeing numbers now. So Native American cultures and how they saw the night sky. And then recently we did ancient European astronomy. So Celtic and Gallic mythology. That was back February 22nd. So check out those streams if you want to learn more about that. All right, y'all. So at this point, hopefully we've got our crew gathered here, checking into the comments. We've got Dee Dee watching. Thanks for this. Dee Dee King watching from the plaza. Thanks, Dee Dee, for tuning in. Kathy says, watching from Mason tonight. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Kathy. And Will asks, why did NASA give up the shuttle program? Will, that's a great question. The shuttle program ran for quite a long time, through the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and the final mission was in 2011. And the shuttle program, unfortunately, was a reusable program. So those space shuttles were reused a number of times. And it got to the point where there were enough issues with them, and notably the Challenger shuttle disaster and the Columbia shuttle disaster, that basically we got to the point where they were getting pretty old, and they just weren't safe anymore. So they discontinued the shuttle program, and for a while, NASA astronauts hitched rides aboard Russian rockets to space. That wasn't until last year, actually, when we started to hitch rides aboard SpaceX rockets, which are SpaceX is an American company, so it's cool that we're riding our own American rockets now. So that's basically the long and short of it, Will, for why they gave up the shuttle program. All right, y'all. Well, so we have been doing these live streams since last March. In fact, we are coming up on our 1 year anniversary of these live streams. And I just wanted to take a moment to just thank everybody who's watched. And even those who aren't watching, thanks for people who have tuned in the past and supported us. We've done, this is our 67th live stream to date. We have covered 54 hours of content. And up to this point, we have 284,000 views, which is incredible and mind-blowing. So I want to thank you all for supporting not only me, but the Planetarium and Union Station. And I also want to thank Union Station for supporting me, too. I couldn't have done this without the support of I want to specifically shout out Ben, who's my guy in the chair, who makes these live streams happen and does all the technology behind the scenes. And, of course, all the other Union Station departments, like our education team, who support all of our programs moving forward, our marketing department to give me all the cool, fancy graphics to make it all look professional. So I couldn't have done this without the support of all those other teammates. So thankful. And this is the success of these streams have been a testament to all of those pieces coming together. And we have an update. So as we come to our 1 year anniversary, we know the world is also opening up. We know that people are starting to feel safer in the world, and we are starting to become safer in the world as well as vaccines are going out, which is so exciting. And I hope that everybody who has access to that can receive it as soon as possible. But because the world is kind of shifting and going back to normal, and because we know a lot of students are going back to schools, we're going to make some updates to our live streams. So we are going to be celebrating our 1 year anniversary with a couple exciting streams. So tonight's live stream, as you can see, is our What's Up Spring Star Tour. So stick around for that because we'll be taking a tour of our seasonal night sky coming up. And then we're going to do a special stream this Friday. Now, our longtime watchers will remember that way back in the day, we used to do 3 live streams a week where we did a star tour every Monday, a deep dive every Wednesday, and a Fan Friday every Friday, and we tapered those off as we switched to a weekly schedule, but we're going to bring them back because it's been a while since we have done a Q&A live stream. So the way that's going to work is that you all are going to be asking me questions, and I'm going to rely on you for the content of that stream. So mark your calendars this Friday at 6 p.m. and start thinking of your great questions about space and some of your crazy questions too, because I love a good challenging question, and we will try to answer them live on the air this Friday. So again, tell your friends, tell your family, this Friday at 6 p.m. we are going to be doing a Fan Friday audience Q&A stream, and the way to make that fun and interesting is for you all to tune in with your cool questions. And then next Monday, which will be just a couple days after our 1 year anniversary, we are going to be celebrating the anniversary of our live streams with our 69th live stream. That will be very nice, and we will be having a finale. We will be just celebrating the whole year of live streams. And my plan is to kind of look back on some of the coolest moments that I liked during our live streams, recapping some of the cool demos that we've done, some of the crazy streams that I put together. We'll probably take a look at that crazy beach stream. I don't know if you guys remember that one, but it'll be kind of a greatest hits where we're going to dive back into some of the fun things that we did this year. So tune in for that, and that will be our finale. That will be our final live stream on this weekly schedule. So we're going to be taking a break from live streams for a little while. Don't worry though, we have a plan to keep them going because starting in May, we will be switching to a monthly live stream schedule. So as the world opens back up, and quite frankly, as the Planetarium gets busier and I'm needed back at Union Station to help my teammates there, we're going to be doing these monthly. And the plan is we're going to be doing them most likely on the first Monday of the month. And we will be announcing these in advance, of course. And we're going to cover a variety of topics during these streams. We'll do space and astronomy news updates like we've been doing. We may do a little mini deep dive into a cool astronomy topic that's come up in the last month. And then we'll also do a brief star tour, like a 10-minute star tour, to kind of give you guys a little taste of stuff that's going to be coming up in our night sky for that month. But that's our plan. So we're going to transition here. Again, we're going to take a bit of a break in April, but we'll be back in May for a monthly stream, and that hopefully that'll just make you you guys miss us even more, and we will keep these things going in some fashion. We also have other plans for other in-person programming, but we aren't able to announce those yet. But those announcements will hopefully be coming soon because a lot of the content that we've produced here on our virtual streams will be a lot of fun to see at the Planetarium. So if there's a topic that we've covered over the past year on our live streams that you would like to see at the Planetarium, then let me know in the comments because we will keep that in mind for sure. But for now, that is our plan, folks. So we have just 3 more live streams, including this one, until our grand finale, celebrating a year of live streams. Who knows? Maybe we'll hit 300,000 views. That would be an incredible feat. But in the meantime, I'm so thankful for all of you for supporting these streams as they've gone forward. All right, so as we switch back over to our topic for today, which is going to be a spring star tour, where I see we have some people commenting in the comments. Eric says, the Twilight Zone stream rocked. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed that, Eric. We did a stream, a Twilight stream on Halloween last year that I took a deep dive into space mysteries. But that was a fun live stream. Did some creative things with the presentation there, so definitely encourage you to check that out. Remember, youtube.com/KC Planetarium for all of our past streams. Amber is watching and said, I'm glad you're continuing these. Well, thank you so much, Amber. I'm glad we can keep them going in some fashion, and I'm glad you're tuning in. Be sure to tell your friends as well so we can get some awesome questions this Friday. And it looks like James and Donna are saying, I'm glad you'll be doing the monthly. Awesome, James and Donna. I'm glad that's going to work out for you all. We're excited too, and it'll be nice to spread them out a little bit more too, because we've covered a lot of topics, and quite frankly, I'm running out of content. I'm running out of topics to cover, because it feels like I've pretty much covered the entire universe at this point. So let us jump into our stream today. Which, thank you for your patience, by the way, for all those announcements. But we're going to be taking a little What's Up Star Tour for our spring skies. And we are here in Stellarium, a piece of software we haven't seen in a little while. But this is going to give us a view of our sky. So, I promised that we would bring Phoebe out for the Star Tour. So let's see if she'll come out. Hey, bird. Come here. All right. Special guest appearance from Phoebe the Galah. All right, so we're going to take a little tour. Oh, excuse me, sorry about that. Of our evening sky. And we are going to check out our Kansas City horizon, first of all, which we can see all around us. We're out on the lawn of the Liberty Memorial. So Union Station is to our north. And then the lovely Liberty Memorial is right behind us there. And we can see this is our current sky with the sun setting over there in the west. Well, pretty much today, I guess, is the spring equinox, which is exciting. So that means daytime and nighttime were the exact same length today. And from this point on, the days will be getting longer and the nights will be getting shorter. Oh, I cannot wait until we get those nice long days again. I don't know about y'all, but I'm a summer guy and I sure do love my sunlight. Of course, when the sun is out, it's the only star we can see. It's so bright it drowns out all of the other starlight. But with the power of our virtual planetarium in this Stellarium software, we can fast forward time and get that sun to set a bit more quickly. Where are you going, Phoebe? Just want to stand on my hand. Then there goes the sun, and the stars will come out. Now, there are a couple different versions of twilight. This is something I've really not mentioned, actually. It's worth bringing up. Come on, get up. Get up there. Oh. Clumsy bird. Let's see. Oof. Got a big fluff. So there are a couple different parts of twilight, and I wanted to show you guys this. It's something I've not really brought up before, but it's worth mentioning right now. So there is daytime and nighttime, and when the sun sets, you would think of that as nighttime, of course, but there is always still a little bit of light out, right? Even after the sun dips below the horizon. So there are different parts of twilight, and they're measured by the angle of the sun. So there's civil twilight, where it's still fairly bright, and there's nautical twilight, which references the ocean for some reason. I honestly don't know exactly what makes it nautical twilight, but then astronomical twilight starts at about 12 degrees, so when the sun sets below 12 degrees. So it's always a little bit, a few minutes to about an hour after sunset, I usually suggest for if you want to go stargazing. So if you ever look up the sunset time, just keep that in mind, because that time won't be the best time for stargazing. It'll be a little bit after that. So here we are in our night sky, and we've stopped at about 9 p.m., so we've got a nice astronomical twilight. As my bird chews on my chair. There we go. Here, do you want some scratches? Here, scratch. Usually, oh, nice. Love nothing like an on-screen bird poop. Let's hope we don't get content dinged for that one. All right. So, oh, Phoebe. So, let's dive in. Now, I like starting my tours facing towards the north because there's a pair of patterns here that are always up every season, but it's a good place to start because it's a pair of constellations that a lot of people know, and that is, well, a pair of patterns, I should say, and that's the Big and Little Dipper. So we can see the Big Dipper here made of these 7 stars that form a nice big spoon, and then the Little Dipper is below it, and the stars are a bit dimmer, but you can see a similar spoon shape there. Now, the Big and Little Dipper, I caught myself because the Big and Little Dipper are not constellations. They are what we call asterisms, which is an unofficial star pattern. So not part of those 88 shapes we saw earlier, but still famous or well-known. Or sorry, not part of the 88... And there's the bird. Not part of the 88 constellations that we can see. Oops. Let's see. There we go. There are the 88 official constellations. But asterisms are not official constellations. They're unofficial star patterns. The constellations that use these same stars are called the Big Bear and the Little Bear, or Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. So Ursa Major uses the stars of the Big Dipper, Big Bear, Big Dipper, that kind of makes sense. The tail of the bear is the handle of the spoon here. The body of the bear contains the 4 stars of the spoon, plus these 2 stars here. The head of the bear goes up to this star, and then its legs go up like this, so it's kind of upside down this time of year. So we can see the Big Bear there, and then Ursa Minor, the Little Bear, there as well. By the way, when I highlighted a star here, you can see this star has a name, which is Kokab, perhaps. But it also has its official designation, which is Beta Ursa Minor. So that's what the official scientific designation I was talking about earlier. These are the Big and Little Bear. Now, I mentioned that they're visible every season, right? And that's because they are circumpolar. And a circumpolar star or constellation is simply one that stays up all night. So if I fast forward time here, we can see that the stars will appear to rotate around our night sky. Now, the stars aren't actually moving, it's the Earth that's moving. And as the Earth rotates around, since we're along for that ride, our night sky view will rotate. And as we can see, a lot of stars and constellations will rise and set throughout the night, but some of them will not. Any stars or constellations that's kind of in this region here above the northern horizon, they'll stay up all night, and we call those circumpolar. So you can see here, even at nighttime, when we can track the constellations, they'll stay up all night when other stars and constellations will be setting and dipping out of sight. So let's bring our evening sky back here. Oh, that's a little bit later than I wanted. Let's stick to around 9 o'clock. Perfect. So they are circumpolar. Now, that star there at the end of the little bear's tail is fairly important. It has an official name called Polaris. It's also nicknamed the North Star, and it's the only star that doesn't move. So you can see that all the other stars were spinning around it, but it stays in the same place all night, and that's why the North Star is special. It will always point north, no matter where you are on Earth, and no matter what time of night it is. As long as you can find that North Star, you can find north. Now, if you go below the southern hemisphere, or the equator rather, to the southern hemisphere, then you will not be able to find the North Star. By the way, we did a whole live stream about the Southern Hemisphere stars on July 27th last year. So if you want to learn more about the different types of stars that are found down there, then be sure to check that out. So let us bring our stars back. We've got a question from Eric saying, do you take audience suggestions for content? Absolutely, Eric. If you have any ideas or suggestions, then be sure to put those in the comments too, because we'll keep these live streams going. And like I said, we're going to do some smaller deep dive topics as we switch to our monthly stream. So there's always room for new types of topics. Will says, hoping to come down to the Auschwitz exhibit, Union Station in the Planetarium this summer. Absolutely will. I haven't gotten a chance to see it for myself, but I know they're hard at work getting that exhibit ready. And it's sure to be a spectacular exhibition. Union Station always puts on an incredible display. And the Dino Road Trip exhibit was a lot of fun last summer. So Auschwitz should be a very interesting and hopefully a good experience for everyone. Phoebe, you're just gonna yell at me from up there? Here, I'm gonna see if she'll join us again. All right, so we fade back into view. You want to scratch? There we go. Good bird. Good bird. All right, so let's continue our spring star tour, and let's see something that is popping up in our spring skies. Actually, I'm going to adjust something. As beautiful as the Liberty Memorial is, it does kind of get in the way of our view here. So we're going to switch to a more foresty backdrop. There we go. Now, let's cross over to our western sky, and we can see some constellations that will be setting this season. And those constellations I'll focus on are Taurus and Orion. Taurus you can find by looking for this bright V pattern. This is the head of Taurus the bull, and then his horns go up to these two stars. Then we have its neck and legs down here. So there are the lines and constellation patterns. So Taurus is a famous, represents a couple different characters actually. One from Greek mythology. He represents Zeus, the king of the gods. Zeus, he had this bad habit of disguising himself as animals and coming down to Earth to mess around with mortals, and he used this bold disguise to kidnap a princess named Europa one day. By the way, Europa is the name of one of Jupiter's moons, and Jupiter is the Roman version of Zeus. There are actually a couple moons of Jupiter that are named after children that were kidnapped by the king of the gods, which makes sense in a way because many of the moons of Jupiter were in a sense kidnapped by Jupiter because of Jupiter's massive gravitational field. By the way, we did a whole live stream about Jupiter on June 29th last year, so if you want to learn more about Jupiter and its moons, check that one out. Now, another story about the bull here is that it was a monster that the hero Gilgamesh fought and defeated, who was famous from Mesopotamian lore. So this Gilgamesh was sent down by an angry goddess who Gilgamesh refused her advances. So that is Taurus. Now, I want us to notice something, because this star in Taurus's head, or you can kind of say is like his eye, is named Aldebaran. And it's a red giant star. It's very hot, or very cool, relatively speaking, actually, and older. But it is not the only bright red point of light in that part of the sky. Tonight you'll notice another bright red point of light right next to it that my cursor is pointing at. But I want you to look closely at it and tell me if you notice something different about that point of light. Or maybe don't tell me because it's virtual, but think to yourself and think if you can see something different about that point of light. If you look at it for a minute and compare it to Aldebaran there, you might notice that that point of light I'm pointing at is not twinkling. Now, stars twinkle in the real night sky, as you've probably noticed. And they twinkle here in Stellarium as well, and they even twinkle in the Planetarium. And the reason stars twinkle in real life is because they're so far away from Earth that by the time a distant star's light reaches our planet, only a tiny amount of it is able to pass through the Earth's dense atmosphere, and our atmosphere causes that little speck of light to become distorted, making it appear to wobble and twinkle. But this object here is a lot closer than distant stars, so more of its light is reflected back towards Earth, and it appears as a wider, full disk of light. This is a planet. That's why it does not twinkle. So planets, you'll see them as bright points of light in our night sky that do not twinkle. Now, because planets orbit the sun at their own pace, they're not always visible every season, or they're not visible in the same place every year, so this time next year, Mars will not be in the same spot. They appear to wander around our night sky, evening to evening. That's actually how they got their name. The word planet means wanderer in ancient Greek. And Mars here is gracing our western sky this spring. Now, if you want to learn more about Mars, we do visit Mars during our star tour at the Planetarium, so I'd encourage you to come to the Planetarium and check out one of our live star tour programs called Sky Station Live, where we actually fly to Mars in 3D and learn all about it. If you want to visit the Union Station or the Planetarium, I'd encourage you to get tickets in advance because we are still limiting our capacity and requiring face coverings, of course, and social distancing. But for our tour today, we're going to move along over to Orion the Hunter. Orion is one of my favorite constellations. It's the brightest constellation in the night sky, if you combine all of its stars. Come on up there. So, of course, Orion's famous belt stands out here, outlined by these 4 stars. These are Orion's feet, and these are his shoulders. Then this little cluster of stars represents his head, and in one hand he's holding a bow or a shield, and the other is kind of lifting a club or a sword. So Orion was a famous character from Greek mythology as well. He was a famous hunter, but he liked to brag about himself a little bit. And one day Orion boasted that he was such a good hunter he could capture every animal on Earth if he wanted to. When Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, heard this boast, this made her very upset. It was her job to protect the animals on Earth. So as punishment, she sent a giant scorpion monster down from Mount Olympus to battle Orion and teach him a lesson. There goes my bird, just flying around my apartment, going crazy. Wow, she's really flying. She crashed on top of her cage, but she's fine. So this scorpion was sent down by the gods to battle Orion and teach him a lesson. And we can see their fight immortalized in our night sky as the hunter and the scorpion chase each other through the seasons, Scorpius being a summer constellation, so they don't quite ever catch up to one another. And it's time for our bird to take a nap, so everybody say goodbye to Phoebe, and we are going to continue our stream in just a moment. Oop. Come here. All right, so now Orion is one of my favorite constellations, mostly because it plays host to a very cool deep space object, my personal favorite deep space object. Now, if you look below Orion's belt on a clear night, you'll notice 3 dimmer stars that kind of form a little smaller line. Some people call this his dagger or his sword hilt. Well, this part of the constellation is actually hiding a deep space object called the Orion Nebula, which is not loading for some reason right now. That's okay. Usually this pops up in Stellarium. I don't know why it's not this time, but you know, of course it isn't. So it looks like this. That's the Orion Nebula. So the Orion Nebula is a big cloud of hot and dense gas and dust that is a stellar nursery, the birthplace of stars. So deep inside this nebula, gas and dust gets pulled together by the force of gravity, and over time this gravity forms large spheres of gas. And as these balls of gas grow in size, they get heavier and heavier, and as their gravity increases, their core becomes compressed and their temperature rises. And eventually these balls of gas may collect enough matter that they contain enough potential energy to reignite stellar fusion, and they once again become stars, or they become a star. So this is how stars are born. And this is how our sun was born. We actually did a whole live stream about stellar evolution, one of our first deep dives all the way back in April 15th of last year. Wow, that was a long time ago. Now this gas and dust is actually left over from the death of stars. So when stars die, they expel their elements out into space, and then gravity pulls it back together. So it's sort of a cycle of death and rebirth that forms new stars. And that is inside of the constellation Orion, which again is mysteriously not showing up, but that's okay. We'll continue our star tour nonetheless. Now, if you draw an imaginary line through Orion's belt, it points at this very bright star, which is the brightest star in our night sky, Sirius. Sirius is nicknamed the Dog Star. It is part of a dog constellation, as you saw a moment ago. This is Canis Major, the big dog, who along with Canis Minor, the little dog, were Orion's hunting dogs. This is where the term dog days of summer comes from, actually, because in the summertime, Sirius is rising in the early morning sky, signifying the arrival of the season. By the way, if there are any Harry Potter fans watching, it might make a little more sense to you now why one of the characters in that story is named Sirius. So, that is the Dog Star there. Sirius is the brightest star in the night sky, and the second brightest in our northern hemisphere sky is rising over in the east, which we'll see in a minute. I did want to point out, though, the moon tonight shining brightly above. Tonight's moon is a waxing gibbous moon. I will say that it's always a good idea to check the phase of the moon when you're stargazing. When the moon is waxing, that means it's going to be up after sunset, and it means it's currently in the process of getting brighter. And when it is gibbous, it means it's more than half full. And a gibbous moon actually is a source of light pollution. So the bright light shining from the moon will actually drown out surrounding starlight, and it makes it difficult to go stargazing. So I always recommend to aim for a waning moon. When the moon is getting dimmer, it also rises later after sunset, and that's a better time for stargazing. Now, the moon happens to be right inside the constellation Gemini right now, which I'm going to point out because it's a fun one to spot. Good one for the kids. It's easy to trace because it looks like 2 stick figures holding hands. These 2 bright stars are the stick figures' heads. So here's one head, his body, arms, and legs. And here's the other head, his body, arms, or his arms, body, and legs. So these twins were named Castor and Pollux, and they were a famous pair of Greek heroes. Gemini and Taurus, by the way, are part of the Zodiac constellations. If you want to learn more about the Zodiac and why it's significant, be sure to come to the Planetarium because we take a deep dive into how the Zodiac works during every one of our star tours. Let's see, Will in the comments says, one reason the Dippers were part of navigation for the Underground Railroad in the USA. Well, it's awesome. Yeah, so we talked about stellar navigation during one of our streams back last year. Celestial navigation was on November 16th. That was a fun stream. I won't spoil that, but it takes place in a different setting, I'll just say. But that's a great point, Will, that the stars have been used for centuries. We think about using the stars for navigation as something that may have happened thousands of years ago, but as Will points out, that's something that humans have used even in the more recent past. Unfortunate that they had to do that, but it's cool knowing that the stars were important for people for a long time and still are today in some ways, probably. So, continuing on with our Spring Star Tour, really the excitement is happening over in the east right now. What's rising in this season's sky? We have Leo the Lion. You can find Leo by using an asterism, one of those unofficial star patterns. It looks like a backwards question mark. Can you guys kind of see that there? So this is the lion's head and his mane. Here's Leo's body. His front paws go over there, and then there's its tail. Leo represents the Nemean lion. This was the ferocious beast that Hercules fought and defeated during the first of his 12 labors. Corey says in the comments, I didn't put Sirius Black and Sirius the Star together until you said that. Awesome, Corey. I'm glad I could illuminate that for you. By the way, if you want to look it up, most of the Black family in that book is actually named after star names. So that's a fun thing. Arcturus Black, I think, is either Sirius's brother or father or something like that. And Arcturus is a star. Actually, that's the next star I'm going to point out. How do you like that? Well, how's that for serendipity? So Arcturus is the second brightest star in the northern hemisphere. And we can see it rising right over here in the northeast. And there's a nifty trick you can use to find Arcturus. All you have to do is locate the handle of the Big Dipper and follow the arc across the sky. And then just remember this little saying, arc to Arcturus. So if you arc to Arcturus, you can find Arcturus. Arcturus is part of a constellation named Boötes, who was a hunter or a shepherd. It's one of the oldest constellations. And now Arcturus is part of another asterism. Arcturus, along with this star here at the end of Leo's tail, which is named Denebola. Denebola means tail of the lion in Arabic. These two stars connect with another star that's going to rise a little bit later. This one right here, named Spica, which is part of Virgo the Maiden. And these three stars form a near-perfect equilateral triangle, and that triangle is nicknamed the Spring Triangle. So this signifies the arrival of the season as these three stars rise in the early evening sky towards the east. And asterisms like this were useful tools to ancient people to help them determine the changing seasons. They used this before we had reliable calendars to track things like the best time to plant or harvest a crop. Now the Spring Triangle is maybe less famous than its sort of more famous cousin, the Summer Triangle, but as it is just approaching springtime, the Spring Triangle is the one that is significant. I should point out, though, that there is an asterism over towards the southwest that is a winter shape. It's a little more complicated, though. It's a hexagon. The winter hexagon is formed between 6 stars over in this region. You can kind of imagine these bright stars in this region forming sort of a 6-sided shape. So that's the winter hexagon. All that to say, though, that just winter is kind of the best time to go stargazing, in my opinion, because there's so many cool things going on over there in the southwest. But so there's a winter shape, and then there is a spring shape here. And we're going to cheat by fast-forwarding just a smidge, because I do want to kind of show you Virgo the Maiden here. She looks like another big stick figure. This is Virgo's head. Here are her arms, and then here's her torso and legs going down there. And this pattern makes it look a little bit different, but you can... the art actually follows the pattern better than the lines do. So you can kind of imagine her there. She was often associated with fertility or harvesting. And this star in her hand, as I said before, is named Spica. And Spica means ear of grain in Latin, and Virgo is often represented as holding an ear of grain, as you saw there in the picture. And we can use that little trick we used earlier to find Arcturus to also locate Spica. You can see they're kind of in a line here. Just arc to Arcturus and speed on to Spica. And you can kind of extend that line all the way through these two bright stars. So that's a nifty trick to remember these two stars. Arc to Arcturus and speed on to Spica. And you can find those 2 stars over there, and that'll help you find the spring triangle as spring is now officially begun, basically. And that is really the highlights of what I wanted to point out in our spring skies. Now, this year, we are not going to be getting any exciting planets visible in our early evening, unfortunately. We can see, we might notice Jupiter right before sunrise. So if you're an early riser, Jupiter and Saturn are gracing our evening sky towards the southeast right now, but just right before sunrise. So I won't be spotting those for a little while. And then Venus, let me find Venus. But Venus is not quite up yet as well. Venus is very close to the sun right now, clearly. So we won't be seeing Venus for a few months at least. Venus, it's not even showing up here. Venus is sometimes called the morning star or the evening star because it's always visible close to the sun, which means it's always up around sunrise or sunset. Now, if we cheat and fast forward time a little bit, we can go all the way to June, so all the way right at the start of summer. We'll see that Venus this summer looks like it's going to be our it's going to be our evening star. Again, it's not a star, it's a planet, but starting this summer around late June or early July, you might notice Venus shining brightly towards the west as the sun sets. And those are the planets that we're going to be able to see this next season as well. Well, folks, that brings us to the conclusion of my topics for today. So we covered some space news updates at the beginning. If you tuned in late, we did have an announcement about our live streams going forwards, and I do want to just recap that because we have only 2 more live streams left on this weekly schedule. We're going to do a special edition Friday, Fan Friday audience Q&A live stream. So mark your calendars this Friday at 6 p.m. Have your best questions and your craziest questions too for me, and we'll answer them live on the stream. 6 p.m. this Friday, same place, same time. So check that out. And then our finale live stream, celebrating 1 year of live streams, 69 streams. That will be taking place next Monday. So tune in for that at 6 p.m. Hope to see you all there, folks. And then after that, we will be starting back on our evening live streams in May with a monthly live stream schedule. For now, though, this does bring us to the conclusion of our stream today. I hope you all enjoyed this stream. I don't see any other comments, but if you have any very last second ones, put them in now before we wrap up. Actually, I do see one. Tasha's watching again, one of our returning watchers. Says, thanks, Patrick. Thanks, Tasha. Great to see you in the comment section watching. Hope you enjoyed the stream today. And to everyone else who has been watching and who has continued to support us over the past year, and even to those who have tuned in for the first time tonight, thank you for supporting myself and the Planetarium and Union Station and all that we do. Chris is saying, thank you so much again. Thank you, Chris, for watching. And to everybody who's watching, supporting Union Station by watching these live streams and sharing them with your friends is a great way to support us, of course. But don't forget, Union Station and the Planetarium are open to the public. So if you want to come see one of our live shows at the Planetarium, or one of our kids shows or documentary programs, we have a lot of great options. We just brought back our Mars show and our Dark Matter show, which had been on hiatus for a while. So check that out. And of course, our fan favorites, Big Bird's Adventure and Magic Tree House, are available for you as well, and our Star Tour. So come support us, come see us if you're comfortable. We would love to have you out at the Planetarium. For now, though, we will wrap up this tonight's live stream. I've been your Planetarium specialist, Patrick Hess. Thank you to everyone who supported these streams tonight and all throughout the past year. And thank you to our supporting sponsor, MRI Global, for keeping these live streams running and for supporting all the programs at Union Station. Couldn't do without you as well. I will see you all this Friday at 6 p.m. Hope you have a wonderful week. Good night, everybody.